Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the So I Heard podcast. If you guys are new to the channel, I'm KD. Hopefully, you guys are having a good one. Feel like I was talking so fast. Yeah, let's get into another good one, man. Hopefully, you guys are having a good one. Like I said, something that is new, and I guess not really totally different, but something that is new is that this podcast is now being streamed to Apple Music. I stream everything through this website called Red Circle, and Red Circle works so well because Red Circle actually lets you stream to different services. Like this podcast goes to Spotify. You can listen to it on Red Circle. It also goes to Google Podcasts and now Apple Music. And I think it's another one that I have it set to go to. But yeah, being able to have it on such a big streaming platform where a lot of people do listen to podcasts is so damn dope. I was trying to set it up before, but there was like some type of issue. You have to go through like more of a process with getting it on Apple Music than you do with other streaming platforms. And I was finally able to do it. There's a point where they do some type of processing or whatever, and the processing went so smoothly and quick this time around. So I was happy to get that done. And I was like, all right, cool. I've been sending out the links of the podcast on Apple Music and, just trying to promote it on there. I normally promote it the most through Spotify. But yeah, dude, I hope it's so many listeners that are going to be getting added, through Apple Music. And maybe some of you guys are the people that are listening to it right now. You might be on Apple Music and you're like, all right, I stumbled across the podcast, and thank you for listening, man. I love doing this podcast stuff. Here we are with another episode, and it doesn't seem like it's been as long as it's been. At least for me, you know, we're in the 20s right now, just past the mid 20s for our podcast episodes. And once you think about it, it's like, dude, half of the year I've been doing this, almost half of the year. Um, well, no, actually half of the year. And yeah, man, it's just so fun, so entertaining, dude, so therapeutic. If you guys have ever thought about doing the podcast, the only thing I can really say to you is get your equipment. You don't need the best equipment, and just get out there and create. You know what I mean? Don't second guess. Really just be like, all right, cool. I'm interested in it. Get your mic, your setup and everything, and just get out there. I don't have these expensive ass items. I don't even record it as far as having the podcast on video. And one good thing through Red Circle, it can also generate a video for you so you can end up posting to YouTube or anything like that. And that's what I actually do. I do post this podcast to YouTube as well. So if you guys want to check it out, my YouTube is Who Is KD. Go check it out on there. It's a little bit different because it's kind of like this generated video that they have, which pretty much just shows the logo of the podcast. But at the same time, you can leave all your comments, you can subscribe to the channel and everything. Each service has their own different thing. But yeah, enough about talking about that. It was just something that I was so excited about, having the podcast now on Apple Music. But yeah, dude, this podcast episode is going to be about forgiveness. Now, kind of about forgiveness, right? Mainly about forgiveness. I had to like really think for a second, but yeah, forgiveness, right? And sometimes when people talk about forgiveness, they kind of make it sound like they're that type of person that just doesn't do wrong, like they haven't made mistakes. And it's like, oh, sure, I forgive such and such and such and such. But then sometimes we have to think about people forgiving us. I think it is a mature thing to be able to acknowledge that we do make these mistakes, and then that we do have these issues. And, nobody on this earth is perfect. We can look at somebody that we admire so much. You can look at that celebrity, that you watch so much or listen to or whatever they do, and that person is making the mistakes. Just like we look at celebrities and we think, oh, they got money, they got fame, and we think that they're just living a perfect life. And then that person comes out and says that they're dealing with like depression or anything like that. We are all humans living on this earth right now, trying to figure out certain parts of life. Some people have certain stuff figured out more than others. And then, some people are struggling in certain areas. It's just how life is. So when I think about forgiveness, I think about, certain situations that has happened in life. Um, One thing that I really do is I kind of reflect on past experiences a lot. Like sometimes I'll just be chilling by myself and then I'm just like thinking about random stuff. Or maybe it's like this Instagram post or, Twitter post or anything or a conversation that I'm having that makes me have like this flashback to these certain situations. And sometimes I really do sit there and think like, how would it have played out if I was different? You know what I mean? Or if the situation as a whole is different. And I do one thing that I do, um, not do, but one thing that I do is, I really do think about the choices that I've made in these situations in the past and how everybody was affected, you know? I said in the last podcast episode, well, not the last podcast episode, but a couple of podcast episodes back, talking about how I don't really think about how people think about me. Like when people are like, oh, well, we were just talking about you. I'm like, really? Me? Why? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm like offended or anything, but it's just like you're really thinking about me. Like I'm like what happened? Like you know what I mean? Like why would you even talk about me? And it's not anything like it's like I'm depressed or I'm feeling sad and I'm like, yo, I'm not worth being talked about or anything like that. But it's just I don't ever think about people thinking about me in that way. I don't know why. It's always like that. Um, so, it's just weird thinking about these kind of weird sometimes thinking about these past things and kind of being like, damn, I should have handled that differently. You can't go back and do it, but of course you can have those conversations and make amends with people and try to move from there. And yeah, I think about it sometimes because I'm pretty open with past mistakes that I've made. I talk about it a lot. Like some people will be like, "Damn, like you really admit it," and that honesty is refreshing. And I do love those qualities in other people. Like I said in the beginning, you do have some people when it comes to forgiveness they're always focused on them forgiving others like everybody else was just the issue. And when you step into reality and you're being mature and adult about things and being able to actually, be truthful, you do realize that you yourself have messed up in some situations. So for me, I talk about in the past how, I dealt with relationships and how, I used to cheat and, be out here just really lying and just certain stuff that I used to do. And, I thought about it after some of these relationships or even sometime during these relationships, like how I was affecting the other person and how it really wasn't fair. But of course, mainly after the relationship and being like, damn, like that person didn't deserve that. Like, yeah, I might have had like certain issues with that person. And I might have had, certain times where I feel like certain things I did were justified at that time. But then being honest with myself afterwards, stepping back and really looking at the situation and being like, yo, I was wrong with that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you have to be that person that's kind of constantly down on yourself and you're like, man, I'm making these mistakes. But at the same time, you can stick to your guns, you can stick to what you honestly feel. But if you honestly feel that you are making mistakes, be honest about it. You know what I mean? Be that person that's like, all right, I know I messed up, you know? And I feel like it's a lot of people that would never get to that point. There are some people that literally leave this earth and never have learned their lessons. And they went through life just constantly pointing the finger, pointing the finger, pointing the finger, and are always acting like they're the victim. And I never want to be that person. I want to be that person that's able to admit when I'm wrong. There's even stuff now to this day that I'm like, yo, I need to fix. I need to be better at. I need to really hold accountability with these things. Um, but yeah, just being honest with yourself is the main thing. Life is really about getting through life and navigating and figuring things out and trying to become a better person. And that's what it is. And I'm not saying that, people do certain things. We sometimes measure the bad things that people do. We be like, oh, okay, they lie a lot, but they ain't out here killing people. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, some people are affected in certain ways. And even with things that might not seem as big as, some other things, I still want to be like, damn, I affected this person in a certain way. I have to be honest about it and I have to acknowledge that I made these mistakes. So, sometimes I've had these conversations with some people in the past that we've had, our issues. And then it was like, okay, I forgive you and stuff like that, even times where I've forgiven people, and maybe it wasn't that deep of a conversation of like, yeah, man, this and this happened. Cause honestly, I would say in my life, I was probably, I guess, kind of blessed to the point where I haven't been screwed over by people like that. So I can't like talk on these strong or big, traumatic things. So many people go through so many crazy situations. And I feel like, honestly, I haven't been through a lot of them. But just on whatever I've dealt with, you don't want to hold a grudge. And sometimes people will feel like you're holding a grudge just because you're at the end of that forgiveness, right? You're that person that's like, I've been giving you chance and chance and chance again. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, let's just go our separate ways. Some people won't understand. They'll be like, well, they're constantly trying to get their way back in or whatever. And it's kind of hard to step away from people sometimes. Um, a lot of times people will say, like, in a way, I seem a little cold hearted because I find it that I am easier to step away from stuff than a lot of people. I know some people that constantly deal with situations over and over and over again. And me, I'm more so the person that will step back, get quiet, and then kind of like ghost a person. You know what I mean? And sometimes there's been times in the past where I don't even really give a reason. It's just like, yo, I noticed some stuff. I wasn't comfortable with that stuff. And then now I'm just falling back. You know what I mean? And that is a bad thing because, conversations can fix a lot of situations, but that's not always the case for me. You know what I mean? I've had my situations where definitely I have had those conversations and then we work past stuff and we're cool. You know what I mean? But then there's, I keep saying, you know what I mean? And my mom pointed out that I say that so much. And honestly, when I'm doing the post editing for this podcast, I cut it out a cool amount, but it's still there. It's like a filler. I think that's what they call it, like a filler. Um, and I try not to say it, but I do. So if you hear it, you notice it, that's what that is. But anyway, um, really trying to own up to things that I do, right? You can look at some people that are in situations and you have conversations with them, and then you start to notice afterwards, like if you guys had a friendship for a while or whatever, or it might be friends, family, whatever. And every time you hear a situation, it's always them blaming everybody else, right? And I get it because sometimes I'm in that mindset where I'm like, well, I know I didn't do wrong. You know what I mean? But like I said, you do have to step back, look at the situation as a whole and be like, all right, cool. Well, I did do wrong. You know what I mean? this is where I had my problems. This is where I had these issues or whatever. Um, there's times even with like past relationships where I felt a certain way and I might have felt like whatever it was led to why it ended or whatever, right? Um, but like I own up to like my past relationships earlier on, like earlier in my 20s or, teens or whatever, where I was just like, yo, like I was out here just doing whatever. I was taking advantage and just like or not taking advantage of any, well, in a way, I guess taking advantage of a person's feelings or whatever. But I was out here really just living for these experiences and that's pretty much what my cheating was. It was like me being greedy, me being like, "Oh, here's another opportunity. You only got one life. Might as well do it." You know what I mean? And not really looking at what happened with that person. There was a conversation that I saw that was on Instagram the other day, and it was this guy on the morning show called The Breakfast Club with like Charlemagne, Angela Yee, and damn, what's his name? I forgot what his name was. Um, but anyway, they had a guest on there. Don't even know what the guest name is, but he was talking about in the past how he used to cheat and like he was describing cheating. And this whole conversation isn't going to be about cheating, but he was describing it. And I felt it so much. And he was pretty much just like, yeah, in that moment, you are selfish. And the main reason you're doing it is because these are experiences and you're really sitting there thinking like, dude, this is my only life. You know what I mean? Like I might not get this opportunity again, and you're just jumping on it. You know what I'm saying? And then there's you staying in the relationship that you're in and you're really like, yo, this person has these qualities. I love them more than, I have stronger feelings for them or love them more than any of these other people that I'm messing with. So of course you're gonna stay with that person and still do your dirt. You know what I'm saying? But that's you not thinking about what's happening to that person if they find out or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that's just you thinking about yourself. And I really commented like, yo, he's describing it so well because that's honestly the feeling. And I said it in a previous podcast episode where I was like, yo, back when I used to cheat, sometimes I would really leave a person's house and then I would sit in the car for like a while, for like a few minutes. I wouldn't just start my car and drive off. I would sit in the car and be like, yeah, what am I doing? And it was to the point where it was like, I kind of couldn't stop, I would think that, and you would think that would be like the turning point where you're just like, nah, can't do it no more. But I would turn around and do it again a different day. And it got to the point where I really had to be like, yo, I have to do this for myself. Or it was also me thinking, there's no use in me getting into another relationship if I'm going to be doing the same stupid stuff. Um, you don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want anybody to find out. I remember having these conversations when somebody found out and they're crying and then they're looking at me with tears in their eyes. And then I'm just really sitting there like, damn, I'm really breaking this person's heart, you know what I mean? And it's not a good feeling, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say that I'm focused on my feelings more than that person, but you're really just sitting there thinking like, damn, I did this to this person. Um, and you feel like a horrible person, you know what I mean? And I think that's why I'm at the point where I can admit it so much and be like, damn, you have to grow up, you have to get past that. um and sometimes I have these conversations where I kind of say stuff to people like, yeah, it's not even worth it, you know what I mean? You out here cheating, that's a stressful situation. um you're gonna feel horrible eventually, and like I said, some people learn that lesson and some people don't. Some people just do this their whole life and they don't see anything wrong with it. They're just like, I'm living life, whatever, you know. Um, but yeah, you have to own up to your stuff. And I hope that in a lot of situations, people have forgiven me. You know what I mean? With time, people heal. people look at situations like, yo, we were young, whatever. I remember years ago, there was a girl that I was talking to in high school. Um, and I don't know, I don't really take high school relationships that serious because I was just like, dude, we were young. Like, what were we really doing? Most of the time, we weren't even chilling that much because, I didn't really talk to anybody that went to my school. So it was like, dude, we barely saw each other, whatever, whatever. So I didn't take a lot of those situations seriously. But there was a girl that I was talking to. Back then, I wasn't cheating on girls. Well, I guess I kind of was verbally. Like, I wasn't like messing with other girls, but it was just like I was talking to this girl. We were cool or whatever. But then I started liking another girl more. So I told that girl, like, hey, this is the situation. I was honest with her. I told her, like, yo, we don't really see each other. You know what I mean? We talk a cool amount, I guess, but I'm kind of feeling somebody else. And I straight up told her that. And of course, she hated me. She told me years later, like she hated me for so long. She was saying one thing that she did start thinking over the years was that I was honest about that situation. She was like, I had to start thinking I couldn't really be mad at you because you told me the truth and what you really wanted. And I was like, damn, like that was the move. But at that time, I had just got out of another relationship that I was cheating a lot in. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, dude, what changed that? What changed me from being that honest teenager that was able to tell somebody, I'm not feeling this situation. I'm gonna go over here. You know what I mean? Like what changed that? And that's another thing that made me change when it came to stopping all the bullshit of cheating and lying and stuff like that. um and yeah, it didn't work out with talking to that person years later, but still that conversation I remember so much. And even in other situations, like just finally getting to that point where I can admit what I've done wrong, you know and she forgave me. There's been other times where people were like, yeah, we were young and all this stuff. So, we moved past it, we grew. I forgive you. There's times where I've dealt with other people and I've kind of like forgiven them and try to get back in and stuff. And here's the thing. There's some times where I have forgiven people, but then, the pattern continues, right? And not like they cheated on me, just other stuff or whatever. And, you know, if you feel like it's totally enough and you want to step away from that situation, don't feel the pressure like you have to stay, right? If you feel like you forgave that person, you guys try to work stuff out again, but then you still notice the same pattern, it's okay to walk away and be like, yo, this just ain't for me. I can't deal with you no more. You're making the same mistakes that you were making before, you know, and you can try all you want over and over and over, you know. You don't want to hate anybody. You don't want to hold a grudge with anybody. That's just unwanted stress. That's you just feeling a certain way towards a person. Just find a way to somehow just let it go. Maybe you don't want to use the word forgiveness because it kind of sounds like you might have forgotten a lot of things. And I'm not saying forget, but get to that point where you're like, you know what? I can't deal with you on that level. I got to keep you back, you know? And that's what it is. But at the same time, that's growth because you're not holding a grudge. You're not sitting here thinking like, oh man, like fuck that person. You just constantly talking crap about them all the time. I know some people that really get down like that. I see so many people that go around and, they were in a relationship years ago. That relationship ended years ago and they're still sitting here talking about their ex. But then when you ask them, why do you feel so bothered? I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered at all. I'm done with that. But it's like you constantly keep talking about it. Or whenever somebody brings up that person's name, you just go into a rage. And it's like, dude, you're still bothered by that situation. Admit it. You know you're bothered by the situation. It's okay. Learn to get past that. Because why are you just sitting here holding on to anger? You know, just know that you can't deal with that person on that level. And that's it. Move past it. That's what growth, right? But at the same time, people grow on their own levels. Where I might look at them and be like, yo, you're still dealing with this situation in an immature way. They might have grown in a lot of ways where I might be immature or whatever. People focus on different things in their lives. But I really hope that you guys aren't out here holding on to certain grudges. If it's something that you feel like is worth fixing, go fix it. Have that conversation with that person. This is even something that I need to listen to. Right now in life, there's some situations that I've had with people that I haven't had that conversation with them. I haven't went to them and been like, what happened in this situation? What my point of view was, and then listen to their point of view too. And that's another thing when it comes to conversing and trying to fix these situations. You can't just listen to your side of the story either. You have to listen to theirs. And the problem with me is that a lot of times I want to prove my point. And that's so hard. It's so hard to be like, let me put my point aside and really understand what they're saying. Because at that point, you feel like it's really contradicting what you're trying to get across, you know? And I need to be a better person with that. Definitely. This is another moment of, me being honest with myself and being like, yo, I need to become better with that. If I'm clashing with somebody and I feel one way and they feel another and they're describing their part, I'm normally just like, man, but that don't make sense. And then I'm giving my reasoning for why I feel like that doesn't make sense. In their mind, it's working out totally different. Their math is totally different. And me, I'm sitting there like trying to give my reasons like, why do you not understand where I'm coming from? You know what I mean? And it gets to a point where I felt like I was at a point in my life where I was so obsessed with trying to prove my point. And it still happens to this day. If I'm trying to prove my point, I'm like, yo, but you not understanding me, you know? And that's bad sometimes, but at the same time, I'm really that person that's like, yo, I'm sticking to what the hell I believe, sticking to what the hell I believe. And at the same time, that's what I'm saying. You have to balance things. You can stick to what you really believe, but at the same time, you really have to try to see another person's perspective. And for me, I will literally sit there and tell somebody, "Yo, that doesn't make sense. That will never make sense. This is why my point of view makes sense, and this is why yours doesn't." And I get to the point where sometimes things get heated, and I'm just like, "Yo, I don't even want to." It's not like I don't wanna hear what you're saying, but it's more so like it's been making sense my way for so long, you know, to the point where it's like, "Oh, you're saying this, and it." Like, that doesn't make sense. Why are you even thinking that way, you know? And I think that's one real challenge for me in life, and I think that's one thing that I really do need to work on, um, because I feel like my point of view is my truth. So that's me being honest to myself on how I viewed this situation. And that's why if in these conversations somebody's just like, but you're wrong. And I'm like, nah, but I'm telling my truth. I feel like since I'm able to be so open about so many different things, I'm like, no, I'm not lying. I'm not just making stuff up. I'm being honest in the situation. I've already viewed your point of view and it doesn't make sense. And my level of thinking is different than some other people. Some people add more emotion. Me normally, I'm just listening, like I'm just thinking logically, not listening, but thinking logically. That's how I feel like I deal with a lot of situations logically. I'm not working off a lot of emotions. I don't like when people work off a lot of emotions. Normally, I get into these conversations, I'm like, get your emotions out of it logically. I've even had times where I'm having a conversation and I'm like, all right, but like in a court of law, like what would they go with? Facts or these emotions that you're dealing with? The emotions wouldn't matter at all. It's the facts that matter. And if I'm giving you facts and I'm giving you evidence and I'm giving you this, and this. It's like, wait, what? Like, get that out of here. But then if it's a situation where I'm like, yo, I was really wrong, sometime when you're in that heated argument, you're not totally being 100%. And this is why I say this, because you're so focused on your point of view. There's some moments where you get to the point where it's like, I want to win. And that's wrong because you are not staying honest. You have to look at the situation with their point of view as well, you know. And if you want to make those changes, or you feel like you definitely need to make those changes to save whatever it is, make those changes. That's another reason why, like, when it comes to arguments and stuff, I rather just be alone. I don't want to sit here and listen to you that whole time. I want to go and chill and be by myself, think about the situation by myself, and be like, okay, cool. I'm placing the pieces together. And if I feel like I'm definitely wrong, or I feel like if there's certain parts where I'm wrong, then I'll apologize. But I feel like in the past, so many times when I'm dealing with people, it's like they want the answer right now, right now, right now, right now. Nah, leave me the hell alone. Let me figure this out. You know, that's how my mind works. I need to place pieces together. And it's not like I'm coming up with this story and trying to trick you or anything like that. It's like I need to figure things out. You coming at me and just, what's this? What's this? What's this? You know what I mean? Just like trying to hurry up and get an answer. It's like, yo, get out of here. Because now we're getting to a heated point. And some things might be said that probably shouldn't be said. Now, do I feel like these things are honest? Yeah. You know, but then at the same time, dude, there's another thing that I feel like I need to work on. Is sometimes I need to hold back on that honesty because that might not be the right time to say that. You know, I might say something that I totally feel is honest, but at that moment, that's going to destroy that person. But then, like, in that moment, I'm really thinking, like, nope, bow. Let me just hit them with that. That's what they need to hear. And sometimes those words are the words that just cut a person so deep. And even sometime after the situation, I'm like, oh, well, they needed to hear that. Nobody else was saying it. You know what I mean? Depending on what it is, you'll end up feeling bad. And then you'll end up thinking, like, yo, I was wrong for saying that. But most of the time, I'm not lying. I get to the point where I'm just like, well, it was going to be said sooner or later. You know, better now than later. And that's where a lot of people look at me and be like, all right, you can be a little cold hearted, you know. Another example, back in the day, my friend was dating this girl, right? And I had this bad feeling about this girl. Um, and I couldn't really judge her because this is around the time when I was doing my dirt. I was cheating and everything also. So I couldn't really judge her. And I don't even think I was judging her in that way, but I was just more so telling my friend, like, yo, be careful. Like, I kind of think she, I mean, she out here doing her own shit. You know what I'm saying? And afterwards, he ended up telling me, like, he used to get mad when I said this stuff. And I was just like, bro, this is just what I've seen. You know what I mean? This is what I've noticed. And basically, I was right. Everything that I was saying ended up being truthful. And that's why we ended up having that conversation. It was like, man, I used to be mad. You know, he was like, I used to be mad when you said that. And it was just like, well, that's what I noticed. And it wasn't like I was like, ha, I told you, but it was really just like, all right, well, I was right. But at the same time, sometimes you just need to let time go by and allow these people to, I guess, find out on their own. Some people aren't ready, you know. But then you will even ask yourself, like, well, was that really my fault? Was it? I was being honest. I was trying to help. They're looking at me like I'm just being a hater or I just dislike this person just for no reason. And it's not that. In your mind, you're being helpful. In their mind, it's like, well, I don't want to hear that. But that's why I say emotions come in. And for them, it's emotion. They don't want to believe it right then. They're like, nah, man, it can't be that. Why would you say that? But it's like, yo, this is what it is. You know what I mean? And sometimes you have to kind of hold back, you know, and it's hard for me. It's hard for me to hold back sometimes. Sometimes I'm quiet. I don't say everything, but if you're coming to me and you really want the honest truth and you're really asking, this is something I have to say, right? Like, this is why I don't like conversing with a lot of people. I don't like conversing with a lot of people because everybody goes around saying they want the truth. Everybody. And then when that truth comes, it depends on if they can handle it. If they can't handle it, they'll be mad at you. They'll point the finger at you. They'll say you being a hater. They'll say you just being cold and heartless and stuff like that. And it's like, yo, you wanted the opinion. You asked for the input. I'm telling you what I've noticed on the outside looking in. And to be honest, like for me, I feel like that's what I normally do want from people. But I feel like almost everybody I've dealt with in life a lot of times are people that beat around the bush. A lot of times they'll be smiling in your face, but it's a certain thing that they feel. They're not saying it. Normally, if it's anything that happens, it's like, yo, we could say that. We could say whatever. I'm not a person that gets their feelings hurt easily. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? And if somebody comes at me and then it's like it's a heated thing and say something back, in a way like say like somebody says something and I'm like, all right, we're telling the truth. Well, bam, here you go. You know what I mean? Since we're telling the truth. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. We're like, well, why were you able to be honest? But as soon as I'm honest, it's like I'm coming in too hard. I don't understand. You know? And I do understand certain stuff is said, and it's like, fuck, you shouldn't have said it. But at the same time, that's why I'm saying you have to have a balance. And like I said, we're all trying to figure things out on this earth. We're trying to become the best versions of ourselves. And that even comes with trying to figure out how other people work. Like I said, depending on how many people you have in your life, that's a lot of people you have to learn. Everybody's not going to be the same. Some people can take this criticism. Some people can take these words and be like, all right, well, this is just this person being honest. But at the same time, some people will forgive you, some people won't. Some people will be like holding that grudge for years, like, oh man, you remember when you said such and such? When you guys finally have that conversation, they're like, yo, you remember you said such and such? I can't believe you said that. And it's like, yo, that's what I felt. And a lot of times with me, it's like, well, if you end up noticing later on that it was the truth, how am I still in the wrong? Or one thing I do in arguments a lot is I give examples. And a lot of people might sit there and think, or they'll say, like, why are you throwing that in my face? It's like, because that is a reality. I'll use an example and be like, okay, like, well, such and such and such and such noticed too, and not trying to throw anybody else under the bus, but it's normally just like, well, this group of people have noticed you pretty much do the same thing. So are you going to call all of us wrong, or are you going to admit that you're the one that's wrong? You know, and people do not like to hear that. And then it's like, oh, so you just throwing it in my face? And it's like, dude, I'm not throwing it in your face. But if it's a fact, it's a fact. Accept it. You know what I mean? Just like so many people have said, like, yo, hey, man, hey, you seem like you just don't be caring. Like you be cold on people sometimes. I accept that. It's not like I'm just sitting here trying to be mean to people. You know what I'm saying? I feel like more people should be honest. Then we wouldn't have to sit here and forgive each other so much. I mean, I guess we can to just be like, maybe I worded this stuff wrong. And that's a lot of what I do. When I do apologize, I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have said it that way, but I still meant it. I still meant the main message. I still meant that part. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have had cuss words in there. Maybe I shouldn't have, you know, said it this way. Maybe I should have softened it for you. But then at the same time, it's like, dude, some people don't understand unless you say it in a harsher way. You say it in a softer way, and it's like they act like you're just playing. So you have to get to a point where you're like, nah, I need them to understand. you know? Yeah, they'll be mad for a little while. It's okay. They'll heal off of that. And you hope that they come to the realization and realize, like, yo, you didn't mean it in a harsh way. You just wanted to get your point across. That's what I'm saying. Life gets difficult. And that's one of the most difficult things in life for me is dealing with other people and their emotions and how they handle things because I know how I'm trying to come across with it. I'm not a person that's walking down the street just hating on people. I'm not a person walking down the street just, talking mad crap about everybody. Like, yeah, I crack my jokes. You know what I'm saying? I talk about stuff that I don't understand that others do, but I'm never really doing that out of hatred. When I'm having these conversations, I'm really just trying to get my point across. That is it. And some people can handle it and some people can't. I have always wanted people around that can take that. People that can take it and also dish it. Don't be lying to me. You ain't got to sugarcoat stuff for me. I don't get my feelings hurt like that. And that's just honest. If somebody notices something about me in a real way, I really sit there and think like, damn, do I do that? And it might be later on when I'm by myself. I think that's when we kind of piece the puzzle together. The best is when we're by ourselves, thinking by ourselves. And then you be like, damn, I do that. That's my fault, you know? And that's that moment of honesty that all of us need. Having that conversation with somebody can change so much. Being able to get to that level of forgiveness can change so much. Being real with each other so much. And not trying to put dirt out there or anything. This is the reason why I have stepped back from so much as far as friendships. I remember in the past with a relationship that I was in, right? This girl hung out with a group of girls. She talked crap about almost every single girl. And we all worked at the same place. And I don't know who's listening, but maybe some of you guys know. If you guys, pieced it together. But this girl would hang out with all of these girls almost every single day. And it wasn't just at work. You hung out with them outside of work. You invited them to your birthday parties. You treated them like you guys were really, really close friends, but you talked so much crap about them. I wasn't doing that with my people. I wasn't. Or anything that I did say was something that we've probably said to each other before. You know, But this girl has said so much crap, and I'm not just trying to badmouth. I'm not throwing out names or anything, but I always thought that was so fake. And this girl would go around and call everybody else fake. But at the same time, it's like, yo, you're doing the worst shit. And what made me really notice that with that person was there was a situation where there was a girl that she was always in her face, and I stood up for the girl, and I was like, yo, why are you talking about her when you're always hanging out with her? And the girl got mad. My ex got mad at me. And I'm like, how are you mad at me? I was like, you do hang out with her all the time. Like, if you really don't like her like that, maybe you shouldn't be hanging out with her. Like, you're constantly talking crap about her. And there's a lot of people that I know that do the same thing, even with certain friend groups. It's like, yo, you guys low key badmouth each other. And then now I'm the one that fell. Oh, shoot, I hit the mic. But now I'm the one that fell back. And I still know that you guys low key say stuff about each other. You know what I mean? Like you might not really notice it. And the people involved might not notice that it's happening within the friend group. But I noticed it. And it's like, yo, I fell back. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, there are certain friendships where it's like, yo, I do want to fix whatever issues. We do need to have those conversations. We do need to be honest with each other. We do need to get to that point of understanding if everybody involved wants to fix the situation. But for me, it was easier for me to step back and be like, nah, I don't want to be involved in that no more. And it might be some other little issues, but other than that, it's like, yo, that was the main stuff. Like, yo, I'm not fucking with that no more. You know what I mean? You'll see some people that you know or used to be cool with or whatever. You know about everybody in that group. You know they secrets. You ain't never told they secrets. Nothing. And you know that they sit there and just talk crazy shit about each other all the time. Now, it might be like, it might not be, I'm not saying that they were saying like the craziest stuff, but it's like, yo, this is how y'all rocking. Like, all right, like, it's cool. I'm good. You get older and you start to notice that stuff and then you fall back and you're just like, damn, you know? And there's a point where it's like, you're like, damn, like I was really around so many people. We look at these celebrities or these popular people and you're like, damn, you got so many friends. Like I look at friend groups where they're calling everybody best friend. And then a lot of those friend groups, I'm like, yo, you guys be saying some crazy shit about each other. I see people post about it all the time on social media. And I'm like, I knew that. I knew y'all was getting down like that. I knew that friend group was like that. You know what I mean? You probably done heard some stuff. You might not be a part of that friend group, but you might have heard some stuff about that group. And then you're like, yeah, all of y'all messy. You know, that's why I'm saying at certain points you can have that conversation and be like, okay, well, there was misunderstandings or whatever, and you can forgive. Or you can be like, yo, man, I don't know if I want to deal with that. And you can forgive in a certain way, but you're not gonna forget. So you're still gonna keep it distanced, you know? And that's honestly how I feel some situations are. You have to think about what's worth it. And I feel like with some situations, yeah, I've taken a long time to try to have these conversations with people. But then at the same time, it's like, all right, well, I'm kind of cool just chilling and being a little bit more low key. You know what I'm saying? That way, it's like, it's not like you're just traumatized by friends or anything like that. But at the same time, you're at a point where you're just like, this is the best way. This is the chill way. This is something that makes me feel comfortable. But there's nothing wrong with forgiving. Forgiving doesn't mean that you're weak. I feel like a lot of people feel like forgiving makes you feel weak. Now, me not coming and having these conversations with people is like, it's mainly me being like, damn, I don't know how to, start this conversation or even get into it, or, you just don't know what to say. And you have to get to that point where you're like, damn, time is going on. Like, if I want to fix this, I have to be able to listen to them and hopefully they listen to you and understand as well. But main thing is you really have to take their perspective and really think about it and own up to what you feel you've done wrong. They might tell you, hey, this is how it came. Like, this is how I was viewing things. And sometimes it might not even be a way that you thought that they were viewing things. It might be something that never crossed your mind. And then that conversation opens up and there's so much clarity now. It's all growth. It's all getting older and putting your bad habits behind and getting to a point where you're just like, all right, cool. If I want these people around, we have to get to a level of understanding. And that's not just with friends. That's with family. That's with anybody. Some people feel like you just automatically have to forgive them. And it's like, nah, we ain't even had no real conversation. You know what I mean? I still feel this way. We need to converse about this. We need to really get to a level of understanding. And there's sometimes where you start understanding what you did wrong, but they still not understanding. You can describe all you want and they'll never get to that point where where they understand. That's the point where I totally feel like you need to step back and be like, yo, this ain't just, it ain't working out. They're too stubborn. They're too stuck in their ways. And all of us can be stuck in our ways. Definitely. Like I said, some people are just so stuck on being right. And I definitely deal with that even still to this day. At some points where I'm just like, yo, but my shit makes sense. Yours doesn't, you know? And I think another thing is I tell people, I'm like, yo, I'm not just gonna sugarcoat stuff for you to make you feel comfortable, just to make you feel all right. If I feel like it's the truth and I feel like you should hear it, then that's what it is. Because I feel like sooner or later it's gonna come out. So why shouldn't I say it right now? And I promise you, that is one of the biggest issues I deal with in life with dealing with people. It's just being like, yo, if we gonna have this conversation and stuff get a little bit raw, it's like, yo, it's gonna get raw. You know what I mean? But at least we had the conversation and we can build some type of understanding. At least we can say that it happened, you know, and hopefully everybody involved really puts everything into perspective and learns from the situation, even if it's learning that you guys can't be close and you guys just have to go your separate ways. You still had that conversation. Maybe years down the line, you guys finally understand. With growth in other different areas, it helps you understand life and the mistakes you've made. And like I said, don't always blame everybody else. It's so many people that are out here just blaming everybody else and they don't want to take accountability for anything. And those are the most annoying people in life when you don't want to take accountability for anything. There's been times where I've hit up people. I remember a long time ago, before I got into the relationship that I'm in now, I hit up an ex and I basically hit her up and was like, yo, like, I'm glad that you're doing okay. I think I saw them or something. I was like, I'm glad you're doing okay. It looks like you're doing cool. In the past, I was young. I was making a whole bunch of bad decisions. And I wasn't asking them to be my friend, but it was just more so like, let me get this off my chest. Maybe you'll see this message. Maybe you won't. If you do, just know I'm sorry for everything. And that was just pretty much it. It wasn't, I just sent no other message trying to clarify things or, oh, you didn't hit me back. It wasn't none of that. It was just like, yo, I honestly felt like I did a lot of stuff wrong. And I want you to know that I acknowledge that I did a lot of stuff wrong and I'm getting this off of my chest. And in a way, it was for me, but at the same time, it's like I want you to know that. I didn't have to say it. And maybe they don't care that I said it. I don't know. I don't know how it came from their end, you know. That's a situation I definitely didn't want to deal with anymore either. So even in that message, I was like, yo, I'm not saying let's be friends. I'm not saying let's kick it or nothing like that. It's just, I know I wronged you before, and this is what it is. That was just my message. That was it. I wasn't looking for anything more. If they probably would have hit me back, I probably would have still been like, yeah, I don't know if I want to get sucked into the situation. Like real shit. And I thought about that. I was like, if they hit me back, I don't even know if I'm gonna really respond. I just want them to know where my side came from. Now, we could have got into a deep conversation, but I wasn't really trying to go down that road again. It was just, let me get this off my chest. Let me tell you what's up. Let me own up to some shit. And that's it. I've done that. I've done that a cool amount of times with different people. If I felt like I've really done some wrong. And I don't have a problem with doing that. When I was younger, yeah, of course. When I was younger, I was totally thinking different. I wasn't sitting here trying to apologize for shit. I felt like I was right in so many things. And it's like, yo, I wasn't trying to give no apology and say that I was sorry and own up. Nah, I wasn't doing that. But like I said, you get older and you get to that point. And still, I also said that some people don't get to that point. Some people get stuck in their ways. I remember my grandma said a thing, and I think I said this in the previous podcast where my grandma said, the older you get, the stupider you get. And I remember my mom always used to be like, I don't understand that. Why would she say that? And to me, the way that I interpreted it was you get older and you get deeper and deeper into your ways. And then you become more hard headed. You don't want to hear anything anybody else has to say. You want to be stuck in what your vision is. You want to be stuck in what you believe. And sometimes what you believe ain't honestly the truth. You stuck in a different reality that's outside of the actual reality. Sometimes you need to be the person that apologizes. And I honestly felt like that's what it was. I felt like that was the meaning of that. So honestly, you have to look at yourself and be like, all right, cool. I make my mistakes. I have to own up to it. You know, if people wronged me and I feel like you know, sometimes I just cut off my sentences, but a thought comes up, but you know how serious certain situations are. Some people probably wronged you in such a minor way, but in that moment, it just impacted you so much. You were thinking in an immature way. You felt like this was the end of the world. Then you get older and you think you were like, that was some minor ass shit. Or even if you know that you've done wrong and you like, we need to have this conversation and fix things. Now you can't be mad if they don't want to fix them. You can't. You don't know how it really impacted that person. You don't know if that person's at a point where they're ready for forgiveness. But you said your part, and that's all you can say. You did your part. That's just the honest truth. Everything ain't gonna fix itself. Everything can't be, mended. You're dealing with different people. Everybody's not gonna think your way. And that's just the honest truth. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. It made me think about so much. It made me think about wanting to have these conversations, but I'm not even gonna lie. It's like certain parts where I'm like, dude, I'm at a point where I don't want to get sucked into certain things. And like I said, I haven't had anybody that really screwed me over or anything like that. It's just certain ways that I felt in the past, and I don't want to get back into some of those old ways. You know what I mean? Like it's like I'm proud of a lot of things where I've gotten to in my life as far as like growing and just thinking differently. And sometimes you're scared that you're going to end up backtracking and ending up back at a point where you weren't making the best decisions. And that's you. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you're just blaming everybody else. And I'm not blaming everybody else. I realize that I've made a lot of mistakes too. I've shut a lot of people out and didn't have a conversation. And they probably don't even know why I shut them out. And that's my fault. I can own up to it. I will own up to it. And that is what it is. But at the same time, I hope that they do realize things that they might not have done right themselves. Because in a lot of situations, I'm not alone. If I can own up to mine, hopefully you can too. Hopefully we can forgive each other and move on, be better people, and grow from there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all of this. Hopefully it was something that you guys found useful, something that made you think about past situations and everything, whether you want to have those conversations with those individuals, being friends, family, whatever. And let go of that hatred that you're holding on to. Let go of that damage that you're holding on to. And if you honestly feel like, you're way past that situation, you're past it. You know what I mean? You don't have to deal with that person, but don't hold on to those bad feelings. Don't go around holding a grudge, and every time that person's name is brought up, you just feel so much rage. Let it go. Life is too short. You don't need none of that added stress. Be good. You guys stay dope. Check out all of my socials. Thank you for listening. Peace.